Hello and welcome to another video on the Free Kingdoms event that I attended last week in London. This time a Q&A session. Me and a couple other YouTubers and Twitchers and publishing people were allowed to ask some questions to the developers. Two developers that were answering the questions for us. You'll see them in a minute on screen. On the left is Attila Mohashi and on the right is Pavel Wosh. I probably mispronounced both those names. I am very sorry about that. These are not the people you're seeing on screen right now. You'll see them in a minute. It'll be obvious who they are. But yeah, we were allowed to ask a couple questions for 15 minutes. I will be popping in after questions and answers have been given. After each question and answer has been given to give my own thoughts on the things that were said. But yeah, let's just get started. The first question was by Ninja Hund, who you're seeing on screen right now. I will apologize quickly about the poor quality camera work. I was just recording on my iPhone. I figured I'd record it and upload it to YouTube. See if you guys are also interested in these kind of questions that we were asking. But yeah, I'm filming against the light and stuff. It wasn't great, but there's noise in the background too. But there's not much we could do about that. It was what it was, or it is what it is. Anyway, so first question by Ninja Hund. Kind of started recording a couple seconds after you started the question because I wasn't quite ready yet. He basically asks a question about duels.
Accepts these duels that the AI doesn't win. But then later on, it did seem that the AI was like, you know what? Nah, no thanks, we're not gonna take them. Will that depend on difficulty as well, or?
It's quite intricate actually. Like it depends on like the character itself. Like the AI has a tendency like just to protect its faction leader. So if like my faction leader would be in a duel that like I can lost, it means my entire faction guys is like not too eager to join. And other characters, like for example, like if you have an important character, they just in general don't want to even risk them. However, like even if they lose the duel, like you have an interesting mechanic for it, saying that you might have seen the timer below it. You have to win or within this amount of time. Like if you are the weaker and you manage to survive that amount of time, you can honorably withdraw. The text right now is not that clear, but in the preview build, but it's fine in the test build by now. What it means is that like if you survive long enough against Lubu, for example, which is meant to murder you nearly immediately, but you just manage to hold on to it for long enough, you can honorably withdraw, and Lubu will Lubu, you should have killed him like what's wrong with you? Are you having a having a bad day tonight?
And with that duel, you've actually kept that character away from causing trouble, right? Because one of the main reasons for dueling is to keep those heroes away from doing massive damage to your forces.
Exactly.
Just lock them down for a time.
Lubu would cause massive damage to your force, but like while he's logged into that duel, you just can't do anything.
Yeah.
And you will get a big buff because you survived against like Lubu or any other much stronger opponent. Like you guys are like, yes, you did amazingly well. Like we have now faith in you that like you can lead us to victory.
Yeah. To build on that duel question, I had a lord that lost a duel, and then I was able to do another duel with him, which he didn't seem to do well in because he had already been defeated. But it seemed that you could do a duel despite having lost one, as long as your guy doesn't get killed.
I think it's just a preview bug because like what you meant to happen is like whenever you lose a duel, you permanently withdrew from the battle.
Okay.
So that's a bug.
Okay.
Unless you die.
Well, then you still permanently withdrew from the battle.
But you can be wounded actually.
Yeah, you can be wounded, but still like in the battle you're out.
Sure.
Well, I will let others.
So basically, what they're talking about is duels. That was pretty clear. What I think about this is that I'm not entirely sure if the thing in the end was actually a bug, because what they explained is that if you last long enough, if someone challenges you and your character is technically a worse character, but as long as they survive a certain amount of time, which it will say, you'll see this in game as well. It'll basically, if you want to challenge someone to a duel, it will say win in, for example, 1 minute 15 seconds or something. And if you then don't win by then, they can honorably withdraw from the battle, and that won't be a bad thing. In fact, it will be a good thing for you because your men would have expected your general or lord or whatever to die because he's worse. So I'm not sure if exactly that was a bug. Maybe he actually honorably withdrew, but either way, it doesn't really matter. Whether it was a bug or not, it will be fixed by the time the game is released. But beyond that, yeah, I think it's a good system. There seems to be a lot of intricacy with the duels, whether people accept it, decline it, the AI in this case, or you, of course, as well, and the results of those choices. Next question is by Diplex, who actually, I will interrupt this one after a couple seconds, because he talks about something that is relevant to me.
I could build on the question, because this is something I noticed the person sitting next to me was in a large battle against a huge army.
So the large battle with the huge army, I will make sure to pop it up on screen here, a screenshot of the before and after. So this was a battle where I was massively outnumbered. It was in the first town that I'd captured, that mine. And basically I didn't have an army there, I just had my garrison, a tiny garrison, I think 870 something men, you'll see it on screen right now, against 2,000 something. And as you'll see, I ended up losing the battle. I'll put in a couple screenshots. I believe I'm still allowed to do that. I lost the battle, but I'd killed essentially the entire enemy force except for the heroes that remained. So that's what Diplex is asking questions about.
And ultimately, I think ended up being unable to win because of the 3 remaining heroes on the field. How will you balance the importance of the army and of the heroes? Will it be a matter of breaking them down to their lowest HP, or?
So for the preview build, intentionally to overshoot the heroes.
Yeah.
So you're a bit more free to try them out. You don't really feel that like, oh, I have to be really careful with them, and you have to wait quite a while in the campaign to build them up to be someone like a force to reckon with, especially the early ones. Mm-hmm. So how it is like around, number-wise, it's around like hero can take early one on 2 units. So it's nothing crazy still, even in the romance, which is like I would just beat the entire army on my own. But there are legendary heroes in the game. So if like you come across Luby, just say like it's max rank, best weapons, equipment on him, he can cause havoc in your entire army. So it's a big problem that he's there, and you have to deal with him. So that's the balance you're trying to strike.
I see. So to build on that as well is, I noticed in a few battles early on, when there were early duels, or perhaps if I beat an enemy captain or something, it could actually, and I suppose there might be a purpose behind this, but it could also end the battle without me taking any casualties.
Yeah.
And I strike thoughts of like
That
of tales and movies and other stories I've heard where an enemy will literally turn around after their leader's been killed. So is that a sustainable mechanic to zero casualty battles?
So that's why like we added, you have to survive long enough.
Yeah.
Like if someone just stomps you, or like the kind of like Guan was infamous about just going around and just one-shotting heroes.
Yeah.
Like we have seen that we have that ability for him. So if you are not doing good enough, they are not really have the belief or faith that we can actually turn this around.
Yeah.
But if you do, like that's where like the honorable withdrawal. Like, if you do good enough, then yes, you can turn around the battle by just surviving long enough.
But effective use of your heroes in basically dispatching the enemy commanders, and an effective use of flanking, causing shock. You can very quickly end a battle if you again use your heroes effectively.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Right. Well, look at Diplex looking right at the camera there. So basically, this was all about balance, especially when it comes to the first part of the question that Diplex heated, by the way. I'll put all the links to all the YouTubers and Twitchers in the description as well, in case you're interested in checking them out. But yeah, basically, it's balancing. This is what I talked about in my initial video as well, that in the first, like in this build, basically, they made heroes, both on the enemy and your side, incredibly overpowered. But like this isn't going to be the case when the game releases. This is a lot of comments I saw about this as well on the initial video. People basically saying they're scared that the game is ruined because these OP heroes, like even more OP than perhaps in Warhammer and Warhammer 2, are just going to ruin the game. But of course, there's always classic mode for that as well. If you don't like that, just play classic mode instead. But it does look like even in romance mode, it's going to be tuned down a lot for the actual release. The reason that I heard or found out after as well is that they wanted to do it like this because there's a lot of people who are just, I don't know, they work for a website or whatever, and they've never played a Total War game in their life. They're just here to review or to preview this game, but they've never played an actual Total War game in their life. They're not all Total War YouTubers, the people that were there. There were loads of people who'd never played a Total War game in their life. So they don't want those people to immediately lose their commander and, think the game is shit. So yeah, that was basically it. Short question coming up from Nerd Rage Fitness, a Swedish Twitcher.
Is there any plans for like a better ranking system for the multiplayer than there is in Warhammer? because the ranking system or like getting into the multiplayer in Warhammer Total War, for example, is a nightmare. Because you can just go in and just meet the best player on the ladder like 3 times in a row and you just have no idea what even happened. And even just before that, it's like they can just counterpick you indefinitely almost.
We looked into how to look at like the ELO scores, like how to have better ones than that, because yes, that's a long-lasting problem. We're trying to improve on that. We'll see how far we can go.
So I don't usually play multiplayer. You guys know that very well. I don't really like multiplayer specifically, but some of these YouTubers, mostly Twitchers actually, some of them really do. And they were talking about it quite a bit before we actually played the game, about how currently the system is fucked. Ninja Hund actually said he was first in the rankings for several months in a row or something. He'd been up there many times, and basically what happens every time he comes up against anyone, they just constantly counterpick. No one picks any faction until he picks one, and then the other player immediately picks a faction that counters the one he chose. And this is apparently a big problem in the way matchmaking currently is done. The problem I see with the reaction from Attila here is that it doesn't seem like they've really got a good answer for it, which means that I'm sure they're working on it, but they clearly haven't actually, got they haven't fixed it yet. And I'm sure it's something that they will be trying to fix, but whether they can actually do so or not, we don't know. No one asked about Avatar Conquest, but I'm pretty sure they said there's not going to be anything like Avatar Conquest in this. So I know some of you were asking that about that as well. I can't guarantee it. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure I heard that it's not going to be in this game. Anyway, next question is actually from someone I didn't know. This is the one person who kind of jumped into this Q&A without me knowing him. All the other YouTubers and Twitchers I've been spending the whole previous day with, essentially. But this person I hadn't met before this Q&A, so I don't know who he is, but I'm pretty sure he is not a YouTuber or Twitcher, because otherwise I would have seen him beforehand.
I got to the point in the preview where I put a spy in another territory. And I like that it's slightly changed now in that she went and sat in the city, but until they were recruited into like trusted ranks, I wasn't getting that much information out of her. But from what I saw in the preview build, I would just have to put her there and then wait and hope that the AI picked them out of the pool. Is there anything that I'm going to be able to do eventually that would perhaps influence getting my people chosen?
That's the question first, like who did you pick? A rank 1 character?
I was just rank character.
You see, like the initial pick is like that you have that game of like how important this spy for you is. Like you want to have just rank 1 characters, like not the best pick, for example, for leading an army or even just becoming governor, because if the AI has better governors, likely that they will be picked. Maybe you sacrifice one of your best guys to go over, but then in the meantime you're a little bit weaker because you just lost that guy.
It all depends on the characters. Slightly depends on characters that are already working for the enemy faction. If they're completely filled with a certain archetype, certain element, essentially. If you send that same character, maybe chances are less. But basically, for a character to be hired, they have to be of worth to that faction. So you have to think about that.
But in general, still look at it like it's a long-term gameplay.
Yeah.
It's not like immediate.
Yeah, I just said it at once as that was what I had and I was trying to do that. So that's there. Then we'll get to that.
So I think the answer here was pretty solid. It's well explained. Essentially, the question is that I send someone to the AI, to an enemy. I wanted to infiltrate them with a spy, one of my heroes, essentially. But I sent a level 1 character, and thus the enemy never needed that character because they had better characters available. So the way the spy system is going to work is you're probably going to want to level up people before you send them over, because otherwise the AI just doesn't have any need for them, and they'll never be able to actually give you any valuable information because they just have some low ranking or a low rank, essentially. So if you want to send someone who's perhaps a bit better, but obviously that also means you can't use that hero anymore. So it's kind of it's a very intricate system where you have to sacrifice perhaps a character that you want to use yourself, but instead you're getting information out of them. So it's something you have to think about before you make a decision on whether you send someone low or someone high. Anyway, the next question is from me about naval battles.
So we know we're not getting naval battles, but why haven't you added the island battles that were added to Warhammer 2?
the period doesn't really lend itself that well to naval battles. You know, it's our largest land mass that we've ever had in total war, and it is very much based on land warfare.
Yeah, but then why?
We've got Red Cliff as a historical battle,
Yeah.
which was probably the most pivotal engagement, which takes place on on decks, on land, essentially a land battle, and we felt we feel when we play the game that it doesn't feel like it's missing.
No, but then why not make it a coastal battle or an island battle like in Warhammer 2, where if you attack now at sea, your army and their army goes to an island and they fight it out on a normal land battle essentially. Why not add coast battles like that?
You have coastal battles where you can fight on the coast. You can fight on the coast of the sea coast or the river coast. It's just we didn't really want naval to be a focus.
Okay.
In that sense, you can transport your armies across rivers, and engage the forces.
Okay.
So it will also a bit like contradict like what we're trying to do with the rivers. For example, rivers were quite tactically important in there. Who controls them? Like the Wu faction was quite famous about like this. How you're not letting people in.
Yeah.
If you do that, like suddenly it doesn't matter because you just play a land battle.
Yeah.
You're equally strong. And how do we get across that? Like one faction was all about holding enemy forces off from naval.
Okay.
And then it's like we are a naval force, and then suddenly we are fighting on land as well. It always felt like it doesn't fit in the game right now.
And we want to do naval justice, right? But we want to do it when it can be the focus, right? This is the focus pillar of this particular period. That's definitely we want to do it,
Right.
Here it just didn't feel like it's there are far more important things for us to focus on to get right from this game.
Alright, so what I get out of this is basically budget. Like, they just haven't got the budget to fully focus on naval battles, and that's why they decided not to add them in. I don't know what else to get out of this, because honestly, I think the island battles that they added recently to Warhammer 2 are such a fantastic idea. Because if you're not going to be able to do naval battles, then let me, instead of having to auto-resolve a battle, because what the guy on the left, Attila, what his excuse was that how can you bring across that one faction was all about naval, whereas another one perhaps wasn't. But how is that going to make any difference in whether it's going to be an auto-resolve or a manually fought battle? Like, I get his point, because it would just be a regular land battle if you made it an island battle if you were to fight it yourself. But auto-resolving it just means it's ships versus ships, and it's probably, unless they get unless that faction actually gets naval bonuses, it's still going to just be an auto-resolve. It'll still be the same thing, except you won't be able to fight the battle. So I'm guessing it's budget. They say it's basically, it doesn't fit the era too much, but I don't know if that's exactly true, if I should believe that. But either way, I mean, I don't care too much about having naval battles. I never really liked naval battles. Island battles would have been nice, but the way they've done it now, maybe it'll work out well. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Next question is from Monsters Abound.
So, all of the characters have different sort of traits. So, for example, Zhang Fei is a drunken brawler, and Liu Bei is the virtuous, idealistic or something. So that gives him obviously the bonus that militia units don't cost any income. So obviously, if he dies early on, that would be bad. So the question is, can other characters end up with those traits? So could you get someone in Cao Cao's army, for example, who ended up with the idealistic trait and had free militia if he was the heir, or...
Some of the traits that you are seeing, yes, but the bespoke legendary ones, you have to treasure them.
Okay.
Some of them are really it's a bit like previous, like how the games were working, is like you had faction traits and that defines your faction solely, but now you had these traits, so it's a bit like you're able to customize all the faction traits, because you can see like, yes, you don't have control right away, like who is your faction leader, but on the long run you have, because you decide who is your heir, who is your prime minister, and all these three together defines your faction as well.
So you can find more traits that say sort of, if you have this affects the entire faction as a whole.
If you look at the traits and skills of the characters and what defines them, you'll see straight away. You can see what the effects of those are if they are heir faction leader or prime minister. And some of them are quite strong. Like the example that Al gave at the beginning is with Liu Bei in the first few turns you're limited to just one army. If you happen to make Zhang Fei your heir, one of the first skills that you can skill up for him gives him an additional army if he's faction heir, leader, or prime minister. So straight away you can mix and match and tweak your playstyle.
Yeah.
You could potentially have a build where you go full on armies. You can research you can enact a reform quite early on that gives you an army. You can do the Zhang Fei thing that gives you an army very early on. You can have 3 armies with Liu Bei and play very differently. And you can do this, with various other combinations. Because the characters are not tied to factions. The characters are fluid. They move around. Any character can be in any faction essentially if the relationships are right. Faction leader of another faction, if the faction falls apart, can come to you if your relationship is good. So you can really kind of change your experience and play through depending on which characters are in which positions essentially.
So basically, the question is about something I saw in the comments on my previous video as well. Someone said that the game might feel very dry after a while when all the legendary warlords end up dying, which is a valid point. However, what Pavel on the right says, I think he says it actually on the next question because it's kind of relevant. There will be other legendary lords, or whatever you want to call them, legendary warlords, that appear in a later time. So, I don't know, let's say someone was born a little bit after this game starts, or the era that this time the game starts in, essentially, or the year that this game starts in, sorry. Perhaps someone was born, I don't know, he was 10 years old at the time, and after 6 years he comes of age or whatever, and he's one of those legendary warlords from that time. So there will be more like refreshing lords coming in later on. But yeah, essentially, if your legendary lord dies, you will lose his unique abilities. But there are so many lords. I mean, just taking Liu Bei's faction as an example, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei are both also legendary warlords. They might not be your legendary warlord faction leader, but they are still legendary warlords of their own very unique traits that other warlords or regular generals might not have, regular heroes essentially. So there's still going to be a lot of variety, and it's not like everyone's going to die off at one point and that's it. Like all of a sudden you're just stuck with these very generic generals. The next question is also from Monsters Abound, and in a similar vein, but mostly geared towards the physical appearance of warlords.
Leading on from that, obviously more characters get generated this time. When I was playing Dong Zhao, the Tyrant, he died quite early on.
I had that too, turned 15.
Yeah.
Can happen.
Yeah, and so obviously then more characters are going to be generated as the game goes on, and those legendary characters are potentially going to die off. Mm-hmm. Is there a lot of variation in the generated characters? Because I did have 2 that I called the Melonhead Twins, because they were basically just green and red melon-headed people, who were brilliant. I love them to bits, but...
So later down the line, what you will see is like it's actually strategical gameplay on campaign. You have like buildings, regional resources that like you have a master armor smith here. If you manage to capture those regions, they will start creating like new armors for you, or you can trade it through diplomacy as well, whoever controls it.
Yeah.
And yes, most of the pre-generated characters are coming with the most basic equipment they have. Some of them will have better, just generated like that. And that will change how they look naturally, because like every equipment you put on
so
them,
does armor actually look?
Yes.
Oh,
On campaign and in
So basically, obviously
you can actually try it with the generated characters, because I think everyone has at least 2 armors already on them, like basic armors.
Yes.
Just put on a different one of them.
So we've got obviously the legendary characters that are named legendary characters that are present in the game and will emerge, right? So many turns into the game, there'll still be some legendary characters appearing here and there, as they would in Romance or whatever. And then yes, we do have the kind of the generic that we refer to. Each element shares the same pose, so there are some similarities. There is facial variations, but yeah, every time you equip an armor, you will see it change in the 2D artwork and the 3D artwork.
Super.
Same with weapons and mounts as well.
And it's both campaign, battle, 2D, 3D.
So I kind of answered most of what this question was about already after the previous question, but yeah, there's a bunch of physical aspects to it as well. Lords will change their appearance once you equip different kinds of armor on them. Obviously, the same will go for their mounts. You've got different mounts for characters as well. So I think that's a nice little touch. It's something that I'm sure some people will be like, well, I'd rather they spend the budget on something else, but I think it's a nice little touch. It makes your characters feel a little bit more unique, which I think is a good thing. Final question is going to be from Ninja Hund once again.
last question, guys.
I have a bit of an odd question. I saw like to the left of the starting position we had, there was this like little icon where there was like a mountain way or something. Then I clicked on it, just said like a little law, like Mount Ra or something. Is that something that's throughout the game, and is that something that will be expanded upon? Maybe it's like a special battleground.
We call these areas of interest. So China has so many kind of epic and areas of real significance, historical significance and spiritual significance, you know, that kind of is written into the law, written into the records and even romance and even the records, where so we wanted to depict these kind of areas of interest. So you've got the Yellow River, various sacred mountains, and they're across sections of the wall.
Do they give us a unique battleground if we fight near them?
They're mainly there for kind of as immersion and kind of signposting.
They're always like very historical titles, so it's always a nice opportunity to just educate people about the history.
And we love celebrating the the settings that we choose. And China being so beautiful and diverse, just had to be celebrated in such a way because it has some of the most unique environmental kind of. What's the word I'm looking for? Features. That's the word. So we just wanted to highlight that.
Alright, so the last question is basically just a very simple answer. There are some areas in the game which have, I guess, some lore attached to them. Not necessarily lore, I mean, it is based on real life, of course. But just some information about the areas. It's just a nice way to learn a little bit more about China, about where you're fighting and what kind of significance it has, I suppose. Which is a nice little touch, I think. That was it for the questions, though. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I thought it was a nice thing to just record it. I wasn't necessarily planning on uploading it, but I figured some of the questions are interesting enough that I think it's worth making a video out of. Hopefully you guys agree. Thank you guys once again for watching. This will be the last of my footage that I recorded at the event. I mean, I recorded much more footage, but I'm not allowed to actually show that. Hopefully I will get early access. Hopefully I'll get it soon. Probably not for another month or so, though. But yeah, when that happens, I'll be playing fucking loads of it, because I'm well excited. Finally, if you guys are interested in getting the game yourself, whether that is a pre-order or not a pre-order, you don't have to pre-order it, please do consider using my link at the top of the description. I'll get 10% of your purchase. You get 10% off from your purchase if you use my code as well. It's all explained there. If you're from America, you can change the currency in the top left, and then it will become available for you. Because some of you will have asked me like, "Oh, but it's not available for America." Anyway, not relevant. But yeah, please consider that. You don't have to, but you still get a Steam key, of course, if you buy it there. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for some proper Free Kingdoms campaigns. I'm fucking excited. Until then, have a good day and goodbye.